Guys, it's Lost in Plot, and today we're getting lost in the campaign for Halo Infinite. Now, this campaign, which is the story for Halo, is very different from the prior Halo games, which were basically straight-line linear games, which means when you play a level, you go from the beginning straight through to the end. Now, Halo Infinite is a departure from that because it is an open-world game. That's right, it's Halo Far Cry. In previous games, you were fighting in the jungle, in the city, in the desert, in the snow. You went to all these different locations, and there was a story, and there were curated set pieces and scarab tanks that you had to take down, and vehicle sections, and on-the-ground sections, and sniper sections, and all sorts of variety in terms of the combat and the experiences that you were having. In this game, well, it's not. You're dropped on a ring, you're given a map, and then on the map there are all these markings to let you know you can go to that place and you can do something. You go to that place and do something else. You can go to that place and maybe you'll continue the story. Or you can go to that place. And it's up to you to either get in your Warthog or run there on foot and choose what you want to do to move the game forward. That's right. Traversing the world is a big part of this game. You're going to go from spot to spot to spot. But the sad thing for you is after you've played the first few missions on Zeta Halo, the outside world, you've basically played the entire game because there's little to no variance between the beginning missions and the end missions in terms of locale, in terms of enemy types. You're basically doing the exact same thing every single hour of the campaign. And I hated it. I've played a bunch of open world games, Ghosts of Tsushima, Breath of the Wild, and this was one of the worst open world games I can remember playing. Yeah, it is an empty, desolate world. It's not one in which you want to explore. I certainly didn't want to explore it. There were no secrets that I was interested in finding. There were no side missions that after I pursued them, I thought, wow, that was really cool and a different change of pace. No, instead it was just like, God damn it, I've got to get from here to there, and what is the least obnoxious way that I can do it so I can just get into the next fight and hopefully it'll be better than the last fight. Should I fast travel? Should I take a Warthog with the risk that I'm going to run into some kind of mountain or some big boulder, and now I got to get out of the Warthog, and I got to grapple, and I got to climb, and I got to go the long way. And you've wasted 10 minutes just trying to get from point A to point B. Yeah, so bottom line for us, the open world aspect, utter fail. Sucks. And that's a problem because you were betting on that. You did Halo Infinite and it's Halo Open World. For me, the open world blows. So that was not a great innovation. But then you still have a story, right? What do you think of the story? Now, the original Halo trilogy had a very rich storyline. You were dealing with the Covenant, which was this alien race that was out to exterminate all life on some kind of religious journey. The Great Journey. The Great Journey. And you were part of the UNSC Marines, and right, you were fighting against them. You were the human resistance against them. This time, the prophets and the Covenant and that whole religious hierarchy is gone in favor of the Banished, which are these generic bad guys. They're just angry guerrillas who are going to growl at you and taunt you in ways that aren't particularly
the Banished
interesting or personal.
The Brutes from the first Halo trilogy. So the Brutes are now your main opponent here. And anytime one of the Brutes are talking, or the Banished in this case, you don't know which one it is because they all talk the exact same.
Yeah, and the story is an utter fail too for me. I mean, if you've been familiar with the original trilogy, 343 is nowhere near it. And I think a lot of people have resigned themselves to the idea that, hey, we'll never get as good a story as we got in the first 3 games from these people. They just don't have it. And they still don't have it. And they're still rehashing the same beats. Chief's relationship with Cortana and how it's strained and how it affects him personally is something that we just go over and over and over. And whatever baggage he's got from being a child soldier, it's basically making him look like he's tortured from his past and how is he going to progress forward. And when you do that, what you sap is the high adventure that the first 3 games thrived on. You weren't there to sit there and talk about psychological baggage and how we're going to fight the aliens off. No, it's like, hey, you got a big gun and you got to go kill all the aliens. Go have fun. And that fun, that aspect, that tone of story is totally lost here.
Yeah, and those original Halo games were so amazing because they never gave you a chance to just navel gaze and reflect on who I am and why I'm here. Because you were you were too busy having some goddamn fun. You were riding a tank. You were going into the desert. You were going up into the snowy mountains and having sniper battles. You were facing different enemy classes. They were so varied and so amazing, and all the environments were just so fantastic. Whereas this one, we basically get one environment. And we don't get the varied enemy classes. You've killed one outpost and you've slaughtered all the troops there. You've basically done it a million times. You're just going to go to the next outpost and do the next thing. And do the next watchtower and do the next thing.
Yeah, it doesn't vary at all. The locations don't vary. You're not in the snow. You're not in the desert. You're not in the jungle. You're not in the city, like all the different locations. That was a trademark of Halo. You don't have the vehicle sections. You don't have the sniper sections. That was a trademark of Halo too. They can't recreate it here because they've sacrificed all that in favor of this open world. You can go all these different places. With the terrible audio logs that they've, again, are cribbing from other games. They're trying to take other games and put them into Halo rather than trying to look back and say, what made the first 3 Halo games pivotal and unique at the time, and how can we recreate that experience for modern audiences? Instead, they just basically swipe and grab from other games and throw it all in there. The result is a mismatch where you have a bad open world game and you have a bad Halo game, and they're combined into the same thing.
And I really see this as the bare minimum effort. Now, we all know that there was a lot of developmental problems with this game. It was supposed to come out years ago, and then they had to pull it back because the graphics looked like shit, and they had to rework everything, and now this is what we've gotten. And to me, it seems just like an empty shell where you found one combat loop, and you are basically spamming it in all these different locations around the environment. The terrain is not even that interesting to drive through. I mean, you don't enjoy going from place to place, and when you get there, it's the same encounter that you just played 5 times over. This is like the bare minimum effort developmentally for them to get this out the door. We already talked about the multiplayer and some of the horrible practices that they had there, trying to make you grind and for monetization. This feels like a grind to me, and I've kind of lost the will to go forward with this.
Yeah, the only good thing I could say is the core gameplay they've done a decent enough job. It's somewhat fun, but they can't iterate it in ways that are interesting enough to keep your attention past that first 5 minutes where you get your full serving of it, and then there's really no other tricks. It's a one-trick pony all the way through, and it turns into a boring slog. The story sucks. If I have to recount one more moment where I had to hold my hand out and put the weapon into a little door unlock, and she has to tell me a story and give me all this background while I'm waiting to get to the next boring section of stretched hallway, I mean, the grappling hooks, it's fun, it's neat, but it's not something you haven't seen in other games, right? It's not the Doom Eternal and the meat hook that you could use to great effect in the combat loop there that's so addictive and varied that you get much better experience here. Instead, it's more Johnny-come-lately for Halo. So for me, the final word on this game, it's dead. This is a 4 out of 10. It's not a good Halo game, and it's not a good open world game.
Dead for me as well. This is a 3 out of 10. I might even go down to 2 out of 10, but I can't bring myself to keep playing this thing. Not especially when you consider the fact that the Master Chief Collection is right there on my computer as well.
And you know, that's the thing. I know new audiences, these games are kind of old. Halo 3 back in 2007, right? And here we are in 2021. I get that you want to play something new and exciting with the latest graphics and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's a Halo game that's not as good as the Halo game released in 2007, wouldn't you rather go back and play those first 3 titles? You were treated to such a better experience in those games than you are here. Those games still exist, they're still relevant, people still play them. The campaigns are far better than what you're being offered here. These are classic games, some of the best games ever made. This is a pale imitation, it's a waste of time, it's going to cost you far more money than what you could get from the Master Chief Collection. Why don't you just go back and play those original campaigns, and even the multiplayer are still populated to the extent that you can enjoy yourself. So, for new Halo fans, if they like this stuff, fine, you like it, that's great. But do yourself the favor, you deserve better. Check out some of those older campaigns and games and the suite of offerings that they had, and you'll see what a huge gap there is between the old and the new.
It's such a disappointing way for them to move forward with this franchise, and I don't know why 343 just repeatedly fails. Every time out with Halo, they fail, and this may be their worst failing because they fundamentally change their direction, and they say, we're going to chase everybody else and give you an open world game. We're going to separate off multiplayer, make it free to play so we can monetize it and get your asses into the shop and get some money from you. Awful.
Yeah. There it is, guys. Those are our thoughts, unfortunately, on Halo Infinite. If you've played this campaign, Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Give us some feedback. Like and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter. We'll see you all on the next one.